we're out here at a large well. I'd like maybe you could just describe the situation here and what we're trying to achieve, and what the city's interested in as well from a safe drinking water point of view.
So this site is a water well which produces up to 1.5 million gallons a day. This is very important well, unfortunately impacted by high levels of hexavalent chromium. The levels here between 36 to 39 parts per billion, which is relatively high and unhealthy levels. And the town is very interested in remediating this hexavalent chromium to levels as low as possible. And we are here to demonstrate our full-scale 10 gallons per minute pilot, which is capable of reducing hexavalent chromium to non-detect levels. Non-detect meaning levels below 30 ppt. And our system is deployed in this trailer, which is operational right now, and we would be more than happy to invite you in there.
So we're now looking at this pilot. Could you describe a bit about how big it is and then what the process is maybe from beginning to end?
So the pilot system designed to treat 10 gallons per minute of contaminated water. The approach involves injecting proprietary reagent into contaminated water, and this reagent will react with hexavalent chromium, converting it to non-toxic and easy to remove trivalent chromium. And after reaction, the water would be passed through.
Don't worry.
Pass through media filters, which will remove residuals of trivalent chromium from the water, and basically final water would be completely chromium free. So the system contains two essential parts: reagent generator, which is stannous ion in our case. Generation occurs in this proprietary electrolyzer, which can produce reagent on demand at controlled manner. And further, this reagent is injected into untreated water stream by this big pump. And water with dosed reagent will continue to flow through contactor, in which a conversion reaction occurs and completed. So this container gives enough residence time to complete conversion of entire chromium-6 into trivalent chromium, and then the water will pass through a series of those media filters, and they will effectively remove residuals of trivalent chromium and reagent itself. Eventually water will go through the polisher, which will ensure 100% removal of entire chromium and polish it to non-detect levels. So typical final chromium levels, which we expect, should be below few hundreds of ppt for sure. So normally laboratory cannot detect any chromium in it. But a very important feature of our process is online chromium monitor, which takes periodic samples continuously from the effluent, which passes this chamber, this glass bottle. An analyzer every 40 minutes produce fresh online reading on effluent quality, and by then the system knows that treatment is accomplished. And even more than that, based on the results obtained from this machine, we can optimize and tweak process by increasing or decreasing reagent dose. So as a integrated system, this smart and intelligent treatment approach can ensure very effective chromium removal and make this treatment highly economical, because on the contrast to classical or conventional treatment systems, which doesn't have this option, we can ensure very optimal system behavior. This terminal allows operator to see all key process parameters like voltage and current across the electrolyzer, flow rates in every stream, electrodes cleaning procedures, and much more. So this process is completely autonomous. It can run unattendedly. We can turn it on and turn it off on demand, and by then we can reduce cost of treatment. We can ensure high treatment quality and reduce all risk associated with under-treatment, etc.
I think one of the interesting things is that the size of this pilot, which is a fully working pilot, right? As you've said, taking out 38 ppb of chromium and removing it to 0 is actually the typical size of a small community, right?
This is correct. So this treatment system can produce, currently can produce up to 60 cubic meters of pure water per day if it runs continuously non-stop, 24. And this water amount is sufficient to satisfy up to 25 households. So if daily consumption, average daily consumption is about 2 cubic meters per day, so 25 households can get fresh and secure water source from this little trailer. And also we can increase productivity of the system, probably double it, just by increasing power of our reagent generation module, which can be added as a second engine to the plane, and we can double productivity pretty easily. So everything here is modular. We can add and remove components and make the system is smaller if needed, or bigger up to 2 times if needed.
So would a system like this be capable of treating this 1.7 million gallons a day? Because we've talked about something being very suitable here for small communities, unattended, you don't need someone sitting, babysitting it, so great for these small communities, obviously very cost effective. But what about a big 1.6 million gallon a day thing, like the building that we were looking at before?
Thanks for this question. Very important question to answer. So, approach we're implementing here is 100% scalable. So, the reagent generators which we produce can be scaled up to virtually any size. So, by increasing productivity of reagent generation about 50 times, we can treat as high as 1 million gallon a day, and all the things which will change is the size of the generator and size of those media filters, which will look much bigger, but nothing stops us from converting this approach into 1 million or 1.5 million gallon a day, and the entire site might be treated by exactly the same treatment approach. And so it obviously would be equipped with online monitoring, very comprehensive, and all the features of this and advantages of this little pilot would be implemented in full-scale systems.
So just scaled up, which is really interesting because a lot of cities in California are limited space, right? So according to traditional technology, they need a lot of space for reagents and waste and so on, and storing of chemicals. So this is not only a very efficient system, but it's also very space efficient, right? And therefore very suitable for cities where it's all built up round the wells. So Vlad, the core of this technology, this treatment system, is something that we've patented in AMS. So maybe you could just talk us through what this technology is based upon.
So the really heart of this treatment process is producing powerful reagent which can chemically convert hexavalent chromium, which is highly toxic and soluble, into non-toxic and easy to remove trivalent chromium form. The reagent of choice is stannous ion, which is extremely powerful reducer, which can easily convert chromium 6 into trivalent chromium by reducing it. And the best thing about stannous is it can be produced from non-toxic food-grade material, which poses no risk for water treatment. So in our approach, in our proprietary approach, we developed proprietary electrolyzer, which involves thin metal precursors or electrodes. You can see them here. It's basically thin metal plates which corroded and dissolved in controlled manner under very well tightly controlled conditions, and produce dissolved tin and eventually disappear. So they self-sacrificial, and by their corroding they produce very tightly controlled amounts of reagent, which is required to convert chromium 6 without any over or underdosing. Another good feature of this process is that those thin electrodes can be stored at site or inside the electrolyzer for virtually unlimited time. So there is no risk of expiration of this reagent, expiring it. And in this case, the site shouldn't worry about chemical supply. They can store those pre-made electrodes unlimited amount of time and replaces when needed, and system will tell them when electrodes approach their lifetime, and only what operator is going to do is just stop the process for a few minutes, remove old cartridge, replace it with this new cartridge, connect two wires and couple of pipes, and turn system on, and it will start working in a matter of seconds or maximum minutes. So our approach again is electrolytic stannous reagent generation, which was demonstrated as very powerful and effective reagent for chromium.
Great. So one of the questions is, and you mentioned it there, where you stop the system and then you start it again. A lot of traditional technologies, when you stop them, and not all of these wells run all the time, right? They run in the day but not at night. What happens with the traditional technologies when they stop and then they have to start? And how does that compare with the stannous system? Because that's quite important if you've got to have someone coming and checking it, right?
That's very important feature of our system. Typically, all treatment systems based on chemical reactions between contaminant and reagent, they rely on kinetics of those chemical processes. And unfortunately, oftentimes, the chemical reaction is not fast enough or not complete. And then system designers and operators should wait significant amount of time to stabilize the system. So in stop and run mode, there can be very high inertia, which means after stagnation you have to wait a long time, up to hours, to see stabilization in the process. In our system, we actually not suffering from those situations, because reaction between stannous and chromium is practically instant. It takes maximum few minutes to react in this contactor vessel. And another good feature, the electrolytic generation process is instant. To stop it, you just need to push the button and disconnect the system from the power, and to start it you need to do opposite, turn it on. And basically instantly reaction produce fresh reagent which takes into power instantly.
Okay, so another question. Say this well turns off, so they've decided they've pumped enough water. Does this system carry on generating and working? What's to stop? What happens? And then when the well turns back on again, has someone got to come and switch it on, or how does that all work?
So this system can operate in a completely pre-programmed manner. So we can turn it on demand. Let's say in pre-scheduled manner. If, for instance, this well will be utilization rate would be 60%, and we know that it should stop at some time period, this machine will stop on demand. We can pre-program it. But if we want to stop it remotely from just any place in the world, we just need to log in our proprietary software on your laptop or desktop or even cell phone, and you can turn on the system in a second just by deactivating the generator.
Right.
And then based on this, all the flows through generator will be terminated. The system will preserve itself and put in standby.
Okay. And say the well stops unexpectedly, so you've got no flow coming into the system. Does the system know to turn itself off and turn itself back on again when the water's flowing?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. This system designed to monitor the flow rates and pressures in every critical step and stage in this process. As soon as the flow terminates, the generator will be shut down instantly, and everything will be going to standby. Analyzer will go in standby, generator will go in standby, and which would be completely safe shut down. And as soon as power is back or flow is back, we can kick in and start producing water instantly.
So it's a really intelligent water treatment system. That's great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I'm here with David again, and we're now miles away from the pilot, and we're going to be looking at the performance of the system. Previously we were looking at how the system was being controlled, seeing that remotely, and now David's pulling up the results of the treatment of the last few hours.
Yep. As you see, we're up in the 40s, 37 to 40, and we can see shortly around the time of turning on the treatment system, the results drop to near non-detect, or zero.
Right. So this is way below where the regulatory limit for this hexavalent chrome contaminant was originally established and then removed. And the state is looking at what should be brought back as the regulatory limit. And what we're showing here is that it could be comfortably reduced to less than 1 ppb, and you've seen the system that can deliver on that goal. So this is all again controlled remotely and continuously, which is good for both the city, consumers and the regulator to be confident that the system is performing as it should. Thanks David, that's great.